All right, so welcome to Civic Punks on the road. We're at the Creative Bureaucracy Festival in their fancy dancy podcast studio, which I guess is like a shed. But I'm here with Mikko. Mikko, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Derek. I'm happy to be in the shed. So, my name is Mikko Annala. I'm from Demos Helsinki. Should I tell briefly about Demos?
Yes, tell us all about Helsinki, Demos Helsinki.
So, long story short, Demos Helsinki is an independent think tank, non-for-profit by nature, completely impact-oriented. So, we fight for more fair, sustainable, joyful futures. And that takes different forms. We work on agency, we work on infrastructure, so cities, we work on economy, how the current economic paradigm can be emancipated, we work on technology, and then we work on governance. And many of these areas are quite relevant for creative bureaucracy, especially the governance one.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is actually where you and I first met. I think 3 years ago at
Could be, yeah.
I think it was 3 years ago, we ended up on a boat together. You remember this?
Yeah, connecting people.
That's right. And it was one that you had to get a golden ticket, but I somehow snuck onto the boat. Anyways.
Clever, yeah.
And you guys were doing a bunch of work about ethos.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting. So why don't you tell a bit about the ethos work that you guys did?
A lot of this festival is about changing government, how it works and so forth. And a lot of that work is rather technical, and a lot of that work is in a way concrete, so that you can actually put it on a paper and say that, okay, this is something that should happen next, and you can lead through it. But underneath it, there is a cultural layer. There is a layer of what people think and what do they believe in and what do we actually think is possible and so forth. And so we wanted to do a piece on this, and it was a really difficult piece because it's one of the messiest and most vague areas that are there. But in its essence, our thinking is that a lot of the ethos underneath the civil service is inherited from industrial era. So essentially it has principles or premises of strong hierarchy, having strong control over processes, perceiving processes and development as quite linear, strong administrative boundaries and so forth. Those are kind of underneath of what we speak about and what we even are able to perceive. And once that is the status quo, it's really hard to think new ways of doing things, and even harder to push them in motion. And that's why we are in state of some sort of imaginary crisis, because it's hard to perceive those things. So we wanted to touch upon those topics, and there's no one ABC on how to change that, but it changes through actions, it changes through examples, through inspirations, but it also changes by being aware of that. So that's why we took you to a boat ride and tried to make it experimental.
It was a great trip. Where did you draw inspiration from for it?
For that piece of work?
Yeah, like you're talking, there's a lack of imagination around this. So where did you draw inspiration for that imagination?
Well, to be honest, like events like this are the sources of inspiration. Obviously, not only events, but also encounters that you have in your everyday work when you work with people who change things. But that's where the ideas come. They don't come from you sitting alone in your bunker, even though those are the moments when you might get them quite clear. But the ideas come from encounters, and they come from communities, and they come from groups of people who are bothered by the right questions, spending time together. So that's one of the reasons I tend to come to these places and sheds like this as well.
It's amazing how much inspiration you can get in a shed like this.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you and I are working on together is this idea of reimagining public institutions, which I think is in part inspired by the work that you've been doing, work that Christian Basin's been doing on his Transition Collective, and Jeff Mulligan and team have been doing it at TIAL. And we are creating a community for this, an online community on Apolitical, to help really create a space for these conversations to happen. But I kind of want to throw it to you and really what has pulled you into this conversation with Christian, with Jeff and others around reimagining public institutions? Why are you so drawn to that, and where do you hope that goes?
From the definition of institution, it can be understood in many different ways, and many of the definitions makes a lot of sense. For me, they are, I would maybe put it so in that way, that they are somehow codified social practices that exist in society in many different places. So not only in organizations, not only in your workplace, for example, but also in our minds and in our hearts, and we carry them with us through the society. And that's why it's really, really hard to perceive them. It's really hard to understand what they actually are, and it's really hard to change them. But at the same time, they are the beings that constitute how our societies are and how we are able to interact and how we are able to get also good things done. So I'm drawn to this community because of the difficulty of this thing and importance of it, and because of obviously the brilliance of Christian and Jeff and colleagues that have been mastering that kind of thinking and how to actually move forward on that front.
So where do you hope the community, and so you've come and we're working together with Apolitical to create this space. Where do you hope we can go with this space? Like, why do you think the space is important?
Yeah, so every change always happens through examples and concrete cases. So I think, first of all, we need experiments. So we need places where we can, first of all, ideate what could come next, and not to only stay on the level of problem analysis, but also to be able to move forward from the problem analysis to something quite actionable. And to be able to do that, you need the right people around you. And who are the right people? In my experience, it's often hard to say in advance. So you need to be able to create certain type of communities that attract people who recognize the challenges and recognize the language that it is being used. So that's the first step, like getting the right people there. And then the second step would be to be able to identify who would be actually willing to push forward an experiment, and then again come back to the community and learn about it. So that's how I perceive kind of the power of a good community.
So the idea of the community then is that it creates that sort of petri dish that people can put in experiments, they can find them, they can share them, and it enables that collective learning.
Yeah, that's one function definitely. Then there are other functions such as just sharing resources and good tools, for example, and that sort of things as well. I'm drawn by the ability to maybe connect to the most interesting people in the world in that domain and be able to do something together in the future.
Amazing. Well, we're here at the Creative Bureaucracy Festival, and how many of these have you been to now?
Actually, I don't know.
So many that you've lost track of it.
I would say more than 5.
More than 5, yeah. So you're definitely a veteran. Why do you keep coming back?
So for me, evolution of this festival mirrors the evolution of the public innovation scene, if you like to call it like that. So 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, the field was very much about, how would I put it, excitement. It's about new kind of energy. It's about realizing that things also in bureaucracies can be done differently. And there was the feeling, now looking back to that world, it felt a world of innocence. It felt like quite light. And also this event, in all its I mean this by positive connotations, but this was a niche event. This was a small event of few hundred people, and not so many people know about it, and it was Central European largely. And now, after many years, the topics are different. They are more serious. They are about social cohesion, they are about security, they are about decarbonizing rapidly, but in a just and fair way, but how? And to me that means that the essence of this thing has gone to the direction that we are trying now with this community. We are trying to solve some of the most critical problems, but the means are similar, and the reasons why, like the tools and the methods and the approaches, they are the same. And of course, I mean, they are developing. It's not that it's stagnatic, but still, like the core is the same. So that has been there. But now they are moving to the most essential and core questions of society. But I feel that the relevance of the event is growing, the size of the event is growing, and the importance of these topics are growing. So that's what I come back. But also, I must say, still on that lighter note and on that energy note, the event has in somehow some graceful way also managed to keep that fun here. So this doesn't feel like a conference, right?
No. I mean, I was just frolicking about with a cape on. And I mean, we had the pub quiz tonight, which hopefully lots of people come to.
Yeah, that's an institution.
It is. I mean, this is our second time doing it too, and it's become a regular thing. And they get. I kind of describe it like an onion, where at the center of the space, you have sort of the stage with the formal talks and stuff like that. And the further you go out, the more informal it becomes, until you get spaces like this, where it's like a field. And I know in the garden there's like live music on the other side there, and campfire. It's just. I love that sense of play, and it flips how people see bureaucracy on its head. Government can be fun, it can be playful, it can be creative. It's not just rules and processes.
Can I ask then you, like you also come here for some years, like how can you see some change, or how do you perceive 3 years back and now?
I mean, the big shift is like the physical space, so it shifted locations. So the first time I came when we met, it was a smaller location. This space here seems a bit more, there's more pockets, there's more spaces where people can expand into. It's bigger. I think the move to this location was a big step up in terms of size.
That's true.
I also agree with you that I do feel the tone has shifted a bit. because the world has shifted.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of the conversations I'm having now with people are like, how do we navigate the fall? It's a very, pessimistic way, but there is a determination and there's a joyfulness that happens within that space. So even though we're having these heavy conversations, and I mean, that's what I think keeps drawing me back. I mean, ultimately it's the people. Yeah. It's like anything. I come back to get refilled, to reconnect with friends, to meet new people. Every year I meet new people, to bring them into the movement. Yeah, I couldn't imagine not being here. Yeah. I think it's a good job by the organizers, definitely. So a final question for you before we jump in, because there's some people here actually are wanting to connect, which is great.
Yeah.
This is growing. 5 years from now. So you came here at least 5 years ago. In 5-ish years in the future.
Yeah.
What do you hope this is?
So I hope that it's even more international, and in a way that the festival has not only brought people here to get new ideas, but it has enabled right partnerships to be born, and that those partnerships have then contributed to real action on governance and the critical questions around the world. And I hope this place is then a place where those learnings again will be shared. Not so many platforms are able to do that, but I feel that this platform definitely is already doing that and has even more potential there, because many of the relevant people are here.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I do have one final question I'm going to sneak in there, and it's a question for a question. And what I mean by that is, what is the question that you have that you've brought with you here today that you're hoping you'll get some answers, or at least have some conversations around?
So it's not a surprising one. It's one of the big questions of today. It's on democracy, and my question is on what are the contexts where new forms of democracy will be born? And now I mean, my guess is that it will be happening outside the now current explicit democratic system. So where is it?
Makes sense. Well, I'll check back with you at the pub quiz and see how you've come with that question.
Great. See you there.
Amazing. Cool. Well, let's wrap it at that.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.